People binge shows all the time. Girls like ourselves devour them. Children are put to bed early by their parents, hopefully to not be seen again that night. Housewives take grocery money and invest in STARZ to watch seasons 4 and 5. All episodes are consumed, eventually. Welcome, nerdy knights, to the well-rounded table to Bohemian Geek Studies, where we take those extremely dorky dives into our favorite fandoms. I'm Lady of That Thirsty Lake, Sarah O'Connor.
Hello, it's your ginger host, Colleen McMillan, and I'm still frickin' boiling in North Carolina at this point.
You were not meant for hot weather, my friend.
No, I live in Minnesota. Give me the cold.
Perfect. Bonjour, it's your favorite French lassie, Flo Siegel. And also a quick shout out that season 4 is now on Netflix.
Yes.
So you don't have to invest in STARZ for that one season. Perfect. So the BGS ladies, through many very thirsty discussions, decided to let you in on what has been a series of frantic text exchanges and begin a detailed dorky dive into the sexy historical world of Diana Gabaldon's Outlander, a STARZ show adapted from novels, which most of us have not finished. So that's a thing. Be warned, we will be talking heavily about mature content as well as discussing sensitive topics such as sexual violence and rape. So that's our warning. Make sure the Barons are out of earshot. And with that, je suis prêt for a recap of the final episodes of season 4.
So we open to watch Indigenous people dancing around what appears to be traveling stones in North America. It has been 4 months since they landed in America. They begin traveling up the coast where Gavin Hayes killed a man and was sentenced to death. Jamie could not save him. In North Carolina, Jamie and Claire plan to sell the gemstones recovered from the Artemis to pay for everyone's passage back to Scotland. I love Scotland. Get back there.
Right. Yeah,
Ian continues to suffer, thinking Gaelis the Bakra, who raped him, and then they help thief Stephen Bonnet, who has fled his execution, escape recapture after he snuck into their cart. Despite originally thinking they'd head home to Scotland, Jamie and Claire decide to stay in America to start a new life. Fergus and Marsley, who is pregnant, decide to stay as well. En route to visit Jamie's Aunt Jocasta, who is somehow in existence and somehow in America, he and Claire are attacked and robbed by Stephen and his gang of bandits. Big thanks, no thanks. Stephen takes the jewels as well as Claire's wedding ring from Jamie and kills Jamie's associate, Leslie.
Mm-hmm.
Yikes, what an episode.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there.
A lot in that episode.
Where to start?
Gonna have repercussions. That one choice to help Stephen Bonnet is going to have a lot of repercussions.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely should have just let that dude die.
Yeah, for serious.
Yeah.
Where Jamie's like good heart really just bit him in the ass because he's
And
the
Claire's
freaking
too.
worst. Yeah,
Like he tricked both of them, and they're pretty
did.
savvy people. Like they
Right.
usually get a good read on people, but Bonnet is talented in that area.
Con man through and through. One
Yeah.
thing I really appreciated was Claire tries to swallow her wedding rings.
Yeah, that was
and
awesome.
and somehow manages to keep the gold one, which is the one from Frank.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And in the book, Bonnet takes Frank's gold ring, not Jamie's ring. So that's a little book show discrepancy.
Yes.
How do we feel about Ray Charles's America the Beautiful playing over that scene? What a choice.
It was a choice. I just think of The Sandlot because that song is in The Sandlot. So whenever it comes up, that version of the song, I'm like, oh, are we watching fireworks and baseball? Like, no. It was an interesting choice. I preferred the Batman theme from last season. Like if they're going to put modern music in, it's kind of odd to have it when it's in the past sections.
I liked it. I thought it felt like really ironic.
Yes, very
Like
sad.
I really, really liked that about it. It kind of reminded me kind of like WandaVision that we're watching right now. It's just like these like weird modern things in old-timey things. And I like the irony of it. And I like the fact that like we're seeing a grittier America than I think we usually see, specifically at that time. Like we see a lot of like heroism and like, yeah, colonial times, we're gonna be free and independent. And it's like, no, like it freaking sucked.
Yeah.
And I'm glad they had Ray Charles do it, like the Ray Charles version, because he's a man of color.
Right.
Living in America the Beautiful.
Right, exactly. So there was a lot of layers there for sure. And I really liked it. And then can I just say, totally separate topic, I was so excited when Fergus and Marcelly said they were pregnant.
Aw, yay.
They're so
I was
cute.
obsessed with those two kids.
I don't like how they got separated from Claire and Jamie. So can you remind viewers, because I'm a little bit lost, where are they staying?
In a nearby town.
Yeah, they're staying in town. They're just
like Williamton, is that what it is? I'd have to relook at my notes, but they're close, like not super close. It's kind of a chore to go into town, but
I just feel like it's very Oregon Trail what Jamie and Claire are doing. Like, is their axle okay? Are they going to get bitten by a snake?
their oxen will drown fjording the river or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Speaking of which, Colleen, why don't you take us away with our next episode?
Jamie, Claire, and young Ian, who I love young Ian, arrive at River Run, Jocasta's sprawling plantation. Claire is uncomfortable, to say the least, that Jocasta owns 152 slaves. When Jocasta ultimately names Jamie as her heir, shady, without telling him first, Jamie and Claire privately discuss trying to somehow free the plantation slaves once he takes over.
That kind of reminds me of season 1. Like, everyone is always trying to name Jamie as an heir. That's like a constant.
He's like this free agent that could be used by a lot of people. And he's just a hot commodity. Everybody loves Jamie, for real. Jocasta's friend and kind of overseer helper Guy Farquaad, shouts to Shrek always, tries to convince him of the futility of such an attempt because of all the obstacles involved, including proving each slave saved a life, and it costs a crap ton of money to free a slave. When a slave named Rufus, poor sweet Rufus, attacks a white overseer who sucks, who hurt him, Claire and Jamie save Rufus from immediate execution in the grossest way possible.
That was awful.
It's
so graphic.
So terrible, that part. Ugh. However, an angry mob, because of course there's a freaking angry mob, demands that they hand Rufus over. Forced to comply, otherwise Jocasta's house would be burned to the ground, Claire euthanizes Rufus first.
Yeah, I mean, what do you say?
That hurt me so much. And then they hang him anyway.
Right.
Because it's about the symbol. It's not even about killing him, really. It's just...
I mean, this definitely
injustice
this brought us back to like when she euthanized Colum, right?
A little bit, yeah.
That's what that brought me back to. That felt like very parallel. So, I mean, this was so sad. Also, that's a lot of slaves.
That is a lot of slaves.
She has like the farming contingent, and then she has the sawmill contingent kind of working. So she's got a lot of different...
Jocasta needs to calm down.
I can't remember if it was in this episode or in one of the later episodes where Jocasta's like, yeah, I'm friends with some of them. Like, they really mean a lot to me. And Claire was just like, yo, white lady.
Yeah.
How do they feel about that?
Well, one of them is fine with it, at least in the books.
I'm sure.
One of them is very, very fine with it.
Colleen, can you explain what that means to our listeners? Because I don't know.
I don't know if this is going to be on the show because I haven't seen season 5 yet. Ulysses, who is her butler, and she have been having an affair for like 20 years. And she freed him. Like, she freed him. So he's free. He's staying there because they're in love. Like,
so from what I remember of season 5, he is freed, but I don't recall there being...
If they have a relationship.
Lovers.
Well, she has a relationship with somebody else.
Yes.
Ooh.
So.
Well, I guess we'll find out.
I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah, wait with bated breath for season 5. Right. Flo, what happens next?
Oh. Okay. This is going to be a heavy Flo hates Roger episode, so prepare yourselves.
Fine.
All right. So back in the future, in 1970, Roger sells his house because that's what you do, I guess, when you start courting somebody. So he decides that he's going to go flirt and court Brianna in America. So he sells his house because that's a really good option.
Logical. Totally logical.
Super logical. In the past, after all they've seen at River Run, Jaime and Claire decide to leave to make a life of their own, much to Jocasta's disappointment. He's like, no, I don't want to be your heir. I'm going to peace out and go to the wild.
I don't want to own humans, Jocasta.
No, exactly.
That's not like in my...
Not my jam. Not into it. So Ian also decides to stay in America, thank God, because we love Ian. Lost in the woods during a storm and separated from Jaime, Claire finds a human skull with a stone pendant. This was the weirdest thing. And sees a ghost of an indigenous person before lightning cracks. This was like a totally different genre of an episode than anything we've seen before. That was like creepy horror, sci-fi, like alien, weird things going on.
Very suspensey and not in a sexual way.
No,
Outlander.
not
And
at
moved
all.
her shoes. Like he moved her shoes. What's happening?
It was whatever. It was weird, but it was cool, I guess. So to Claire's surprise, the footprints like bring Jaime and Claire back together, and the skull has like fillings, which are obviously not from this time, which was surprising. So Claire concludes this person is a time traveler like her. Very spooky. Later, we get this beautiful shot. They arrive at this stretch of land. They decide to claim it for their own. There's like waterfalls. It's like stunning.
So pretty.
And they call it Fraser's Ridge. And then, in my favorite part of the episode,
Cue sarcasm.
Listeners, if you cannot sense my sarcasm, I don't know what to tell you. Back in 1970, Brianna and Roger reunite. They take a trip to North Carolina, where all the best trips are. And he ends up proposing to her at this like Scottish festival. But she's not ready because they just met. So
and she's like 20 something.
Yeah. And he just like picked up and left his house. Just whatever. So whatever. That's a thing. So she's not ready. They fight. Brianna isn't sure she even like wants to get married at all. And so they continue doing all these like Scottish festivities together. And Roger is the biggest douchebag in the history of the world here.
Yeah.
Just not good.
So I don't know. Should we talk about that part first?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
Why don't you kick it off, Flip?
Okay. So when they're in that cabin, right? Like, I guess it's like their hotel room, but they're like renting a cabin, right?
They're
Okay,
glamping.
Right. They're glamping. It's the 70s. Everything's great. He bought her a bracelet, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Which like was not cute. So bad job, Roger. But then he's like upset because it was just so weird. I like didn't even really follow his logic. He wanted to marry a virgin, right?
Yes.
That was like his big
yes. Well, so like Brianna is like, hey boo, what's up? I would love to get undressed and have sex with you.
Right.
Because I'm attracted to you. Like, let's start there, Roger, darling.
Right. So she wants to have sex with him, but she doesn't want to bind herself to him through marriage. And he's like, we're not having sex until we're married. And it was just like, so like
antiquated.
Well, antiquated and also just like using her, right? Like, it's just like, well, you have to give me what I want before I give you what you want. And it's like, no, you don't get to leverage sex like that. You douchebag, Roger.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And then shaming her.
Yes. And then he like leaves.
Yeah.
And like
and basically shaming all the women he's been with.
Totally. Because
they were, he was fine though.
Which is the worst part. It's like, you can't even follow your own freaking advice, Roger.
Right.
And like she's clearly very upset and like crying because he just not even slut shamed her, like anti-slut
virgin shamed her without virgin.
Non-marriage shamed her. And then he like slams the door and leaves and just like leaves her crying there. Like, I wouldn't sleep with you, Roger. Get out of here.
Yep.
And then like when they're at the whatever banner raising thing and they're like in the stands together, and he's like ignoring her like he's freaking 7 years old. Like, who would want to marry you, Roger? This is a PSA to you, Roger. fix your shit because you are horrible.
Get it all together and fix it up.
Get it together in a backpack.
This is a spoiler. Roger, you don't get better, and I can't stand you.
Ooh.
I cannot with Roger. Sorry, anybody else have anything to add?
Roger, he has some good points, but they are overshadowed by his absolute inability to communicate with a woman who he supposedly loves. Like,
Roger is constantly effing it up. It's unbelievable. It's like, have you never met a woman, Roger? Like, have you never spoken to one? I'm so confused.
He's the
like, do you think
anti-Jamie.
that this would work? Roger, where is your game? How did you get other people to sleep with you, Roger? I don't understand.
Right? Like,
you should be the
singing was great. Like, get laid, my dude.
Right. You like play the guitar or whatever. You're like fucking, sorry, effing John Mayer or whatever.
Oh my gosh, he is so John Mayer.
And it's just like, okay, Jack Johnson, like, great, you've got the game, but like, then you're over here turning around being an absolute a-hole. Like, what? Get out. I can't.
Yeah. Well, and he's really into it at first. Oh, sorry, Sarah, go.
No. I was going to pivot because the only thing that I wanted to talk about from this episode is Claire sleeping by a skull and like taking it with her is a choice. Why, oh, why would you sleep next to and then take in your little satchel a skull?
I mean, I'd rather sleep with a skull than with Roger. So
do we ever find out? I mean, don't okay, Colleen's nodding her head. Yes, we find out who the creepy skull belongs to. Like we always do. We always find out like these connections and correlations between Claire and different traveling stones. Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, it was definitely creepy. Like, it was very like Wednesday Addams of her to just be like,
if she were a doctor, I'd think it was weirder. But since she's going to have like a curiosity about it.
Sure.
No, I still think it's weird. I still think it's a choice.
Claire is a little weird. I would say that it's kind of like an all things serve the stones situation. Like all travelers are kind of connected and are trying to perpetuate whatever is supposed to be happening. And yeah, that would be my guess.
Like, I didn't think the skull thing was that weird, I guess, but the ghost thing was really weird.
Both were so weird to me.
That was just
because why does the ghost care enough to? This is another white savior kind of thing. Why would the ghost of an indigenous person give 2 blanks to reunite these 2 people together? Why?
I think it's only because Claire is a traveler. I think that's the only reason.
Okay. Well,
I think that he's kind of called to her a little bit because she's in danger, maybe. So then his spirit is like, crap, gotta go back to my skull. Some white lady's messing with it.
Okay, so that kind of explains a little bit. Okay, that explains more than what we were seeing in the episode.
But like, does it? Because like, we haven't seen like ghost things before.
No.
We do. We have seen Gaelus's skull though too.
Right.
Joe Abernathy had it and told her that this woman was like nearly decapitated, and then Claire nearly decapitated Gaelus.
Right.
I don't know. This just felt like a little too like haunted mansion for me. Like, it was
spooky.
It was just a little too much. It was whatever. I don't know.
Next up, Claire, Jamie, and Ian mark out their territory in America, which is a ton of land.
Mm-hmm.
Some Cherokee arrive, but they slip back into the woods when Jamie shows them that he means no harm. He begins work on building their new home, which is absolutely wild. Yeah, like
so hot.
Just like building a homestead out of nothing in the middle of nowhere really made me appreciate the home that I was watching this show in.
Yeah.
A bear attacks their homestead, or so they think, dun dun dun, because there's a bear that mauls John Quincy Myers and then attacks Jamie, which Jamie kills. He then takes the man who is dressed as a bear to the Cherokee reservation. This was wild. Turns out that this man was kicked off the reservation for raping a woman. They don't stand for that. Good. The Cherokee and Jamie agree to live in peace. Now, blast to the present, Roger learns that Claire and Jamie died in a fire at Frasier's Ridge, but the date is smudged on the document. meaning within the next 12 years, they end up dying. But Roger decides not to tell Brianna. Again, what a choice, Roger. Meanwhile, Brianna has traveled to Scotland without telling Roger to quote unquote visit her mother. And Roger goes looking for her.
Yep.
Again, I have a lot of feelings about this one.
So why does Roger decide not to tell Brianna? Because you would think,
why does Roger do anything?
You find out his reason, but it's a shitty reason. Like, he gives a reason eventually, but it's just a crap reason.
What's the reason he gives Colleen?
You'll find out soon.
Bum, bum, bum.
It's coming up in an episode.
Freaking, he's the worst, honestly. And like,
it was a bad choice. I mean, yay for going after her. Like, good for you, Roger. But you're also trying to play a hero here too.
Yes.
Like, if he had told her, then they could have gone back together.
Right.
Like, she would have trusted him. But now it's like,
my thing about Roger is like, after his little speech in the cabin, I just feel like every single move that he makes is just so that she'll marry him. Like, everything is just to guilt her into marrying him so that he can have sex with her, like with his conscience clear or whatever. And so like, him not telling her is just another power move, right? Like, he's not doing it to protect her. He's doing it so he can hold something over her. And I cannot stand him. I hate him so much. Okay.
I don't hate him, but I'm very disappointed in him.
God, I hate him.
How would you guys have felt if it were an actual bear that Jaime wrestled? Because in the book, it is a bear, a real bear.
That's pretty cool.
I feel like that's more realistic than someone
man.
Yeah. I mean, I will say that it was very creepy and interesting visually to find out that it was actually a person dressed as a bear. I was truly convinced that it was an actual bear who was attacking.
So funny, because I was convinced it was a dude.
Really?
Very 13th Warrior Michael Crichton with the bear people situation. But poor John Quincy Myers, he didn't deserve to get mauled like that.
No, I liked him a lot. I felt bad for him.
I like him. He's fun. He's a good addition to the cast.
I just want to take 1 second to veer off the bear and just to say how hot Jaime looked building a house. Like, my dude, I would move to the backwoods with you anytime, Jaime. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
That was amazing. Loved that.
Very much so. I hate to pivot to something sad, but we are going to.
Yeah.
So what else were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say he was just like a very hot, like Charles Ingalls.
Yeah. Get after it, Prairie Daddy. Like, yes.
Yeah.
Except Mountain Daddy at this point.
All right, go for sad. I'm ready for
Yeah,
sad.
we're here for some sad episode now. We meet in the next episode Petronella Muller, and Claire delivers her baby. Sadly, Petronella, her baby, and her brother-in-law soon die of the measles. Because of this, Gerhard Muller, who was her father, believes a Cherokee warrior cursed him and his family when he was actually blessing a stream that he had gotten water for his horses from. Distressed, Gerhard scalps the healer Adawahi, Claire's friend, of course, in revenge. Not the best move. Not a good idea to piss off the indigenous people, my dude. The Cherokee retaliate, killing Gerhard and his wife and burning their house to the ground. Ooh, this arc, I forgot about it. I was telling you guys earlier, I guess I blacked it out from my first watch because it is so difficult to watch. And I got the doll. The doll is in the very opening where they do the title and then kind of have their little scene. They had the person wrapping up the doll. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that is what carried the measles back to the family.
Very Stannis Baratheon kind of plot arc.
Yeah, he is
the poison
something
doll
else.
and dragon face.
Yep.
Dragon skin.
Just not good. Not good, my dude. I'm so sorry. But please don't scalp the wonderful healer woman that Claire just made friends with.
That was so sad. That was absolutely abysmal.
That I was like, is this necessary? Like, really? Does every person that Claire meets that's decent have to die? I'm not into it. But we do get one little silver lining. We get Silver Fox. Murtagh is back. Looking hot, being surly, taking all of young Ian's money, which is hysterical. He's busy working as a blacksmith in the nearby town and definitely overcharging for his services.
Mm-hmm.
At least to young Ian. You get after it, Murtaugh. You do you. And here we go, back again. 1971. Roger tracks Brianna to Inverness, where she has gone through the Standing Stones to reunite with her parents. Good job, Roger, I guess. Like, make the attempt, my dude, but interesting.
Stalker.
So, yeah. I mean, at least she told him that she had feelings for him, so it's like, at least he's like, she
somewhat
has
reciprocal
for him, but she didn't tell him not to follow her.
Okay, well, she has feelings for him because she's 20 and because he asked to marry her. So, I mean, and also like she I don't think has that much experience in the world, and she like just lost her dad. Like, way to take, and her mom's gone. Like, way to take advantage of her. I cannot. I give
Roger's
this man no pass.
like Frank too. He's got the professor thing going on.
Totally.
He probably reminds Brianna of her father a little bit.
Yeah.
Totally.
Which is a whole nother set of issues that we'll get to eventually.
Well, I guess he's kind of a mix of Frank and Jaime, right? Because he's like the professor thing, but he's also like super Scottish and a Mackenzie and like, yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Hate him.
I loved live up to either one.
Let's pivot to Murtaugh for a second. I loved that he came up to Claire whistling the Bugle Boy beat. That was perfection.
It was wonderful. It was so sweet. Her face when she saw him was just delightful.
That was amazing.
I love it so
Their
much.
friendship is just like so precious.
Yes.
I'm obsessed with them together.
A wonderful change from the books. Once again, Claire being able to see Murtaugh again and interact with him.
Yeah.
It's like, this is her friend. She hardly has any friends. They all die.
Do you have a sense from your historical knowledge, like, isn't it wild that Jaime received 10,000 acres? That seems like an absolute insane amount of acreage for one man to receive.
The guy is kind of like strong-arming him into being kind of a constable, or at least to help him out with the regulators too. So this is like a bribe.
Yeah.
And he's going to try and attract other people to live on these acres, kind of like make his own Lollybrook in North Carolina. So then he'll have like tenants that farm land and stuff around him.
Right.
So that's
basically
what he's trying to do.
Jaime is like running a multi-level marketing scheme where he just like sells land to people and then they work for him and then he reports back to like his diamond level or whatever.
Totally pyramid scheming all these poor Scots.
He's in the LuLaRoe business of 19, of like 17, whatever.
1771 or something like that.
Whatever.
So Flo, what happens back in the past?
Yeah, let's go to one of our fave guys. Back in the past, Lord John. Yes, Lord John. He is back. Amen. Give us all the Lord John. He actually comes to Fraser's Ridge, which was really surprising. I was not.
Yes.
He loves Jaime.
I mean, yes, but also like he's in the middle of nowhere. Like, why are you here? And he brings young William, who's Jaime's son, like secret son from that like semi-rape where that girl like
semi-rape. That was totally a rape. A rape. Jaime was hot in the rape. He was like as willing and kind as possible, but like that was a rape.
He definitely leveraged her position 1,000,000%. So Murtaugh learns there that William is Jaime's son, but he agrees to keep the secret. Murtaugh is pretty upset at the governor's plan to build a large estate because of the unfair taxes, and things get like really awkward over dinner with Lord John.
I'm not eating rats anymore, thanks.
Yeah, that was rough. So then Jaime takes William for some father-son bonding without William's consent, which was interesting.
William did not want to leave his dad, and we don't mean Jaime.
Right. I mean, it is for sure weird because like he's never spent a ton of time with Jaime except when he was like super little, and so it's like, wow, this random man is taking me into the woods. This is So they go hunting and fishing in the forest, and Claire nurses John, who has gotten the measles. That was scary. I thought he was going to die, honestly.
Yeah.
Scary.
Yeah. So then William actually angers the Cherokees by taking a fish from one of their traps, which is like, William, keep your hands to yourself, my dude.
Yeah.
And
we just told you not to do that.
I mean, honestly, it was kind of obvious. Like, bro, do you have like 1 ounce of knowledge? No, because you're like this little rich kid.
Yeah.
So then when the Cherokees come and like threaten them, Jaime is willing to sacrifice himself to protect the boy. And I really thought something really bad was going to happen here. But it didn't. It like simmered back down. So we find out how much Jaime like really loves this boy. And that was very sweet. Ends up that John recovers and Jaime is obviously very distraught that William has to leave. And then he gives Claire a new ring. So at least Claire's happy. So that's good.
Yeah, somebody's happy at least.
Yeah, for sure. So that's what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
It was good.
I love this episode with John Gray and Claire. Both of them are so jealous of each other.
So jealous.
So much. And their chemistry between the 2 actors is really electric. I love it. And I love that John Gray says that he was born this way, that he was born gay. Because Claire mentions, well, I guess we were all just born this way. And he's like, so was I. I'm like, that's so wonderful.
So we were talking about like, why does John Gray travel all of this way? And I thought that it was really sweet and sad, like very bittersweet that John said, I just wanted to make sure that I could feel something, because he didn't really feel anything at his wife's passing. I think it was kind of a marriage of convenience and a marriage of appearance. Mm-hmm. And so John Gray is willing to walk 10,000 miles to realize see his gentleman love.
And boy, can he feel still.
This was just very upsetting. Like, the character of John Gray is such a tragic one because nothing good, like, he does all this good for Jaime and for the Frasers and for William. And like, he doesn't get anything in return besides like the absolute bare basics of a friendship with Jaime. Like, Jaime doesn't really show him that much affection at all. Obviously, like, that's not how Jaime feels, and that's fine. And obviously Jaime loves Claire, but it's like just very difficult. And it pains me that he like tortures himself in this way, like coming back to Jaime repeatedly and seeing him with Claire. Like, that's very painful. Like, I'm sure we all know like how it feels to see somebody that you like have a crush on or like or love, and then see them with somebody else. And it's just like,
oh, the angst.
Right. And it's just like, he doesn't have to keep putting himself in this position.
Yeah.
And yet he does. And also, like, he has to live with Jaime's son as his own. And it's like, that's a lot. Because William looks a lot like Jaime. And so it's like, it's a tough one.
Poor John. Hopefully he will get some happiness.
I need him to, because he like is just so tragic. So
well, why don't we head back to Brianna, because she's busy making her way slowly across Scotland, twisting her ankle painfully and collapsing in the cold until she is found and taken in by Leary. Not great, especially traveling alone in the past and to run into our least favorite Outlander lady. Mm-hmm. Roger, though, follows Brianna through the Standing Stones because he's got that power too, and joins the crew of Stephen Bonnet's ship. He hopes to follow Brianna to America. So let's pause there for a second. Why does Roger think that Brianna is going to head to America? Just because she knows that's where her parents are? I mean, that's why I get confused sometimes, because like, Roger, if you had just communicated a little bit more, you would have been with Brianna, and then she wouldn't have twisted her ankle, and then she wouldn't have been in Leary's clutches.
Yes.
Like, what was Brianna thinking going through these stones with absolutely no provisions? Nothing. At least Claire came back with a few things. Like, I just don't understand what Claire or what Brianna and Roger were independently thinking.
Okay, so number one, Brianna is an idiot here because she saw her mother prepare to go through the stones. Like, it's not it's not like she had no idea. She like watched Claire like sew all these dresses and like get medical supplies ready and whatever. And it's like, why would you think that you could just go through, like, didn't she bring just like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or something? Like, what are you doing? Like,
she didn't even bring a mirror. Like how is she supposed to track a ship?
She didn't even bring a mirror. Ships.
Exactly.
Oh my God. I think in the book she brings more stuff. I can't remember exactly what she brings, but it seems less dumb.
I mean, it was just crazy. And then like in terms of Roger, like to me, Roger is just like so full of hubris. It's unbelievable. He's just like, yeah, whatever goes on through my head, that's what's going to happen. So yeah, for sure Brianna's in America because I just had this like one random thought that she probably is. So I'm gonna get on the ship now and not like wonder. It's just like, what is wrong with you? I don't understand that man at all.
Yeah. Well, heading back to Leary, she is angered when she at least eventually realizes that Brianna is Claire and Jamie's daughter. Leary's daughter, Joan, then takes Brianna to Lallybrook, and older Ian, before Leary can have her, once again, she is obsessed, arrested as a witch. Stop calling these women witches, Leary. That's not cool. That's not okay. Stop woman hating.
Leary she's a one-trick pony. She's like, you're a witch and you're a witch and you're a witch. That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Thank God her kids are cool.
Yeah.
Seriously. During the crossing to America, Roger tries to help his ancestor, Morag Mackenzie, avoid Stephen's cruelty. Brianna takes on a servant, Lizzie, is it Weymouth?
Weymouth?
Lizzie, and books passage to America for them both.
More tough looks for Stephen Bonnet tossing children off boats in the middle of the ocean.
This guy.
He's the worst. I will say one thing about Roger here. I actually like ship Roger pretty okay. Like, I feel like he like manned up quite a bit on the ship and like was trying to help others and be like a cool dude. He just like, he's the ultimate like white guy, right? Like he just like goes on, knows nothing about anything and is like, yeah, no, I can do this. Yep. He's just like, okay, bro.
He picks up a barrel and is like, where do you want this, Captain? And the captain's like, come on down. You lifted a barrel. Let's go.
Yeah,
you
got be interesting.
You got moxie, kid. I'll give you that.
He's got that big Anton Chigurh energy with the coin flipping thing. I'm like, this guy's just gonna be bad news forever.
Yeah. This kind of reminded me, like, too, like when he was trying to get passage on the ship, it was very like Leo DiCaprio in Titanic. Let me play my hand of cards and I'm going to book passage. It's just like, okay. Yep. I'll take Leo any day over Roger, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Can I just talk about how much I love Joan?
Of course you can, please.
Oh my God. Those scenes with her and Brianna were just so sweet because Joan was largely raised by Jamie. And Brianna was not, even though she is Jamie's. And so it was just so sweet to see those two girls together because basically they're sisters, you know, not by blood, but by coincidence of being related to Jamie,
right?
Whatever that means.
Yeah.
And just when they were like doing their hair together and like putting flowers in it and just being together outside, it was just so sweet. Loved Joan.
Yeah.
Ugh, best kid.
Joan and Marcelly just hitting it out of the park. Leary, you did something right, I guess.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Man.
Well, why don't we talk about things to watch for or things that people might not have noticed? Colleen, do you want to start us off?
Of course. This is the one, Sarah, who I was like, ooh, Sarah might recognize somebody in these episodes coming up.
I totally did.
Like, is that Aunt Jocasta? Or is it Catherine of Aragon? Or Vera Bates from Downton Abbey? Irish actress Maria Doyle Kennedy, I love her. She definitely moves from role to role, but she's regal AF as Jocasta. Like, she's perfection in this role. This is Jamie's wily aunt, who is also blind. She does a pretty good job for being a blind lady in control of this estate, surviving multiple husbands.
Yeah.
Like, all her husbands just keep dying. And like we said before, keep an eye on Ulysses, her stalwart butler, as well.
Well, speaking of Downton, Stephen Bonnet is played by the dastardly relish of Ed Spielers, who was Jimmy Kent on Downton. So y'all are really gonna hate this guy. He is the worst.
I haven't seen Downton, but I probably should.
Oh, you should definitely see it.
I probably should.
After you read the book.
A Court of Thorn and Roses. Okay.
Yes.
I'm almost done, Sarah, I promise. Okay, time for a French lesson. Jamie says that the strawberry is a feature of his family coat of arms. And I think it was Colleen who had talked about how Frasier sounds like fraisier, which is a strawberry bush. And it comes from the French word fraise, which is strawberry. And so, yeah, we were right. We nailed it, team. Way to go, etymology.
Woo, 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 woo.
Yes. Oh, this one was wild. I learned about this when I lived in Scotland. It's mentioned at one point that you will never see a MacDonald and a Campbell interacting, with very good reason, on February 13th, 1692, because they'd missed a deadline to swear fealty to the English King William III. The MacDonald clan were attacked and slaughtered at Glencoe by the Campbells.
Oof.
To make matters even more Game of Thronesy, like guest right situation, the Campbells have been staying with the McDonald's for like over a week as guests.
Oh boy.
That's
And
some
then
red
one-
wedding stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the night, they woke up and started killing everyone.
Yikes. Well, no, we're not in Westeros, but Jocasta's estate, River Run, joins the Tully Outlander conspiracy as another throwback to A Song of Ice and Fire.
Mm-hmm. It's everywhere.
Good stuff.
Well, why don't we move on to how historically accurate Outlander is in these episodes?
More tough talks coming up for Outlander here. We're beginning another stretch where they're utilizing a culture in a fairly sensitive yet still problematic way. Let's talk about the indigenous people of the North Carolina wilderness. Every race or culture is going to be seen through this kind of very familiar lens, especially for us, the white savior protagonists. Like, yeah, it's not the show's fault. All of the main characters are white European people. Like, that's pretty much what's going to happen. But I was kind of hoping, since they've deviated from the source material before, that they could maybe flesh out some more of these characters who are people of color. Like, but no, we're like stuck with the quote unquote savage imagery because that's how the characters kind of perceive it. Even if like Claire knows the truth, she's like, yes, the Native American people were here first. Slavery is bad. She
Right.
knows these things, but we still don't get any development for the characters. Like Rufus just dies in his episode. And then Adawahi, who was the Cherokee healer Claire meets, also just dies, like with no character development. It's very frustrating. I was hoping they'd do a little bit more there, but no.
Well, executive producer Matthew B. Roberts said how important it was to be as truthful as possible in their portrayal of Cherokee and Mohawk nations. Quote, every department from production design to costume and hair and makeup does a huge amount of research to ensure we create a world that feels authentic to the time and place, Roberts said. So at least visually, they're trying to be as authentic as possible.
Right.
That's fair. And then he continued to quote, to build our Native American world, they have learned traditional techniques from canoe building to hand weaving, and to populate that world, we have welcomed a great team from Canada to play both the speaking and supporting roles of the Cherokee and Mohawk nations in Outlander season 4. End quote. That last part is tough because they couldn't have Cherokee or Mohawk actors portray the roles due to SAG rules. But at least the Outlander team made the effort to cast Indigenous people, I guess.
Yeah.
And can you explain what SAG rules are? Because I don't know.
That's the Screen Actors Guild. So there are just
okay.
regulations
Yeah, it's
that
like
they
rules.
had to
Gotcha.
follow.
Gotcha.
Which
Gotcha.
is-
Gotcha.
Like, fine, we get it, but also.
Well,
Right.
one thing they did get right is Cherokee women had powerful voices in their communities.
Mhm.
Women had all the rights of property and inheritance passed on from mother to daughter. They could also marry who they wanted and get divorced if they could. So that was more progressive than us white folks back in the day.
Mhm.
Women could ride with war parties and the men didn't bat a damn eyelash.
Nope.
Indeed, women would have been part of negotiations with white settlers who would never let women near those kinds of meetings.
Yep. I can just imagine like Cherokee being like, where are your women at? Like,
Yeah.
we don't just want to talk to you men. Ugh.
Yeah, ew.
Gross.
Well, I think that's where we'll leave it for today. Thank you so much for being with us, and come back next time when we finish exploring Outlander. You can enjoy us in our podcast or YouTube format. Either way, smash that subscribe button and leave us those 5-star reviews. Remember to check out our website at bohemiangeekstudies.com, where you can watch all of our episodes, enjoy Colleen's book corner, where she's reviewing Star Wars literature, and contact us through email and social media. And as always, keep telling other nerdy knights to join us, because it really does help. Until next time, keep those sabers up in Jamie's sheath and keep those episodes streaming.
Bye.
Bye. guys.